Welcome to Filmvita. Today, I'll be explaining the movie titled Living in Bondage, Breaking Free. The film opens with a harrowing scene set in a dark, secluded forest. Obinna Omego, a young man who is a member of a secret society known as the Brother of the Six, is driving his young daughter to a remote location deep within the woods. As they arrive at their destination, the little girl innocently plays nearby. Unaware of the horrific fate that awaits her, Obinna watches her for a moment with a conflicted expression on his face. Then, with a sudden violent motion, he grabs his daughter and brutally beheads her in a ritualistic killing. The sound of the girl's final cries echoes through the eerie silence of the forest, setting an unsettling tone of the dark and disturbing events to come. Obinna's cold, calculated attitude as he carries out the ritual murder suggests a deep, unwavering commitment to the Brotherhood and its twisted beliefs. Transporting us to a very different landscape, we are now introduced to Nnamdi Okeke, who was once a deeply troubled member of the secret Brotherhood cult, but has since undergone a profound transformation. In the intervening years, Nnamdi has renounced his involvement with the Brotherhood and has gone ahead to become an ordained man of God. He has dedicated his life to serving his community and atoning for the sins of his past. Nnamdi's journey has been one of redemption as he strives to guide others away from the dark path he once walked. However, the Brotherhood has continued to grow in power and influence. During this time, most of the cult members in Nigeria fled the country in the wake of the 1996 Otokoto riots, scattering across the globe to evade authorities. But one key figure has remained in Nigeria, Chief Omego, the father of the man who committed the brutal murder that we saw in the opening scene. Chief Omego has not only stayed in the country, but has now set his sights on a new prize, becoming the governor of Imo State. His political ambitions are fueled by the wealth and connections he has amassed through his continued involvement with the Brotherhood. The cult's influence have spread far and wide, with its members now wielding significant power and influence in both the criminal underworld and the upper echelons of Nigerian society. As Nnamdi grapples with his own past and the lingering effects of his former life in the cult, he finds himself in a collision course with the Brotherhood's resurgent influence. The stage is set for a dramatic confrontation as the former cult member seeks to confront the dark forces he once embraced and prevent them from corrupting a new generation. The 25-year jump in time has transformed the landscape, posing a formidable challenge to Nnamdi's efforts at redemption and the quest to save his loved ones from the grasp of the cult. We are then introduced to Nnamdi Okeke, Nnamdi's secret son by his late second wife Ego, who has been raised by maternal relatives Pascal Nwori and his wife Eunice. Nnamdi Okeke is highly ambitious but largely unlucky, desperate to make his mark on the world and achieve a kind of wealth and status he sees others around him enjoying. Nnamdi is constantly comparing himself to his more successful friends, feeling frustrated by his own lack of fortune and opportunity. It is burning desire for money and power that makes Nnamdi vulnerable. He has been unable to maintain a stable career as an advertising executive 5 years after graduation, despite the disapproval of his uncle, who is aware of Omego's occultic background. Nnamdi, who yearns for a luxurious lifestyle by any means possible, becomes acquainted with Omego's wife Nneka and her son Obinna, who both offer to help him establish connections within the advertising industry. One day, during an office presentation where Nnamdi pitches his campaign for an upcoming rail network, billionaire tycoon Richard Williams is impressed by his ingenuity. He decided to mentor Nnamdi professionally, which later made Nnamdi to be catapulted into high society status, acquiring vast wealth and recognition. But his new life comes at a price. Unbeknownst to Nnamdi, Richard is the new leader of the cult, with a mission to lure him into their cult. And due to Nnamdi's past, the Okeke lineage is eternally bound to the dark side. When his cousin Toby introduces him to the secret Brotherhood cult, Toby paints a tantalizing picture of the riches and influence the Brotherhood can offer its members. Drawn in by Toby's promises, Nnamdi attends the Brotherhood's secret meetings, where he is exposed to their cult rituals and practices. He witnesses the cult members engaging in dark, mystical ceremonies and is mesmerized by the aura of power and secrets that surrounds them. As Nnamdi goes deeper into the Brotherhood's world, he becomes increasingly seduced by the prospect of wealth, status, and connections the cult can provide. The temptation of obtaining everything he desires, designer clothes, luxury cars, lavish homes, proves too strong for the ambitious young man to resist. Nnamdi is captivated by the cult leader, Richard Williams, who always flaunts the benefits of untold riches in front of the young man. Nnamdi is drawn in by Williams' charisma and the cult promise of a fast track to the high life he craves. Slowly but surely, Nnamdi becomes more entrenched in the Brotherhood's activities, attending their secret rituals and doing their bidding. He is seduced by the trappings of wealth and power, blind to the dark forces he's aligning himself with and the moral compromises he's making. As Nnamdi becomes more deeply entangled in the Brotherhood's sinister activities, his girlfriend Kelly and his friend Uzoma, an investigative journalist, grow increasingly alarmed and desperate to intervene. Kelly in particular is deeply troubled by the drastic changes she observes in Nnamdi's behavior and character. She watches helplessly as the man she loves transforms before her eyes, becoming more withdrawn, secretive and ruthless. The gentle, ambitious young man she once knew seems to be slipping away, replaced by a cold, calculating individual, driven by greed and the lure of power. Uzoma, with his journalistic instincts, also senses that something is terribly wrong. He has been discreetly investigating the Brotherhood, piecing together the cult's dark history and the extent of its influence. Uzoma realizes that Nnamdi has become entangled in a web of corruption and occult practices that could ultimately destroy him. Driven by their deep concern of Nnamdi's well-being, Kelly and Uzoma make repeated attempts to warn him about the dangers he is facing. They plead with him to walk away from the Brotherhood before it's too late, appealing to his conscience and the values they know he once held dear. Kelly in particular becomes increasingly emotional and desperate in her efforts to reach Nnamdi. She reminds him of the man he used to be, the dreams and aspirations he had before. The Brotherhood's seductive promises lured him astray. She begs him to remember the person she fell in love with, the one who has so much potential to do good in the world. Uzoma, with his investigative skills, tries to provide Nnamdi with concrete evidence of the Brotherhood's nefarious activities, hoping to shock him out of his trance-like devotion to the cult. He shares his findings, detailing the Brotherhood's history of violence, ritual killings, and the corrupting influence it wields over Nigerian society. However, Nnamdi, blinded by his own ambition and the allure of the wealth and power the Brotherhood offers, remains stubbornly resistant to their pleas. He dismisses Kelly and Uzoma's warnings, convinced that the cult holds the key to his ultimate success and fulfillment. As Nnamdi sinks deeper into the Brotherhood's clutches, Kelly and Uzoma find themselves in a desperate race against time, fighting to save their friend and loved one from a fate that could cost him his very soul. As Nnamdi goes deeper and deeper into the Brotherhood, he is forced to make increasingly difficult choices. He must decide whether to continue pursuing the riches and power offered by the cult, or to heed the warning of his loved ones and maintain his moral integrity. We see Nnamdi going deeper into the Brotherhood's world as he becomes increasingly isolated from his friends and family and consumed by his desire for wealth and status. Nnamdi's initial involvement with the Brotherhood is marked by a sense of excitement and curiosity. He is drawn in by the promise of wealth, power and influence, and the allure of the cult's rituals and practices. At first, he was merely curious, attending secret meetings and witnessing the Brotherhood's occult ceremonies. However, as he becomes more entrenched, he finds himself making more and more compromises. Meanwhile, his friends plead with him to walk away before it's too late. But Nnamdi is too far gone. He has become consumed by desire for wealth and status and the Brotherhood's promise of power and influence. He has gone ahead to transform from a bright, ambitious young man to a cold, calculating individual, driven by greed and the lure of power. Throughout his journey, Nnamdi always looked up to the cult leader, Richard Williams, who has taken him under his wing and is grooming him. Meanwhile, Nnamdi Okeke, who has renounced his past involvement with the Brotherhood cult, is now on a mission to stop their nefarious activities, driven by a desire to atone for his own mistakes and prevent others from suffering the same fate. Nnamdi uses his position as an ordained minister to confront the cult members directly. Nnamdi's confrontation with the Brotherhood is marked by a sense of urgency and high stakes. He is determined to expose the cult's dark secrets and prevent them from continuing their sinister practices, which have already claimed so many lives, including that of his own young daughter so many years ago. Drawing on his past knowledge of the Brotherhood's inner workings and activities, Nnamdi strategically positions himself to infiltrate their ranks and gather incriminating evidence. He uses his connections with the church and the community to gather intelligence and build a case against the cult. When the moment of reckoning arrives, Nnamdi boldly confronts the Brotherhood's members, including the powerful and influential Chief Omego, who has managed to maintain a foothold in Nigeria, while most of other cult members have fled the country. In a dramatic and intense showdown, Nnamdi unleashes a barrage of accusations, laying bare the Brotherhood's horrific history of ritual killings, occult practices, and the corrupting influence they wield over Nigerian society. He challenges the cult members to account for their actions, refusing to back down in the face of their threats and intimidation tactics. Nnamdi knows all too well the devastating consequences of succumbing to the cult's practices, and he is determined to pull his son back from the brink of destruction before it's too late. The confrontation between Nnamdi and the Brotherhood reaches a new level. As the two sides engage in various battles, the outcome of this showdown will not only determine the fate of the cult activities, but also the future of Nnamdi and the Okeke family. Nnamdi later regrets joining the cult, especially when Richard and Omego have commanded him to present his girlfriend Kelly as a sacrifice, and Nnamdi is torn between appeasing the cult and sparing Kelly's life. One day, 2B visits the depressed Nnamdi to get the bottom of his reason for being depressed, and decided to pass the night at his place, but Richard possesses Nnamdi, commanding him to stab Toby instead of Kelly, since he has refused to sacrifice Kelly. Unable to resist, Nnamdi resorts to stabbing himself instead, and is rushed to the hospital where he survives and reconciles with his biological father, Nnamdi, whom he had previously rejected. At the end, the members of the secret cult are arrested. After a recording Obinna sent to Uzoma before his suicide is used as evidence. However, Richard was able to avoid the danger and is seen on his private jet before the screen fades away.